2024 ended quietly, and I always reflect on the amount of books I read that year. And I remember at the start of that year, I said, yeah, this is going to be your year, bro. But then that's what I said last year and the year before that, and you get the picture. And maybe you do the same. Maybe you disappointed yourself, or maybe you did pretty well and you're happy. I mean, I think I did all right, but I still always want more. And I don't want to sound like a cult leader guilt tripping you in the process. That's unnecessary. Either way, there's still so much to read out there. And there is that FOMO when you walk into a bookshop and you see all of this stuff that you want to get stuck into eventually. So you wish maybe you could read a little bit faster anyway, without hurting the quality of your reading. That's totally fair, no matter how well you did this year, or last year rather. I want you to end 2025 actually proud of your progress, not disappointed, not frustrated, none of that shite. And luckily, it's all in your hands. All of your actions from today to the end of the year will have an impact on that. As we all know, the worst sin is to complain of an issue and yet do nothing about it. But we can do something about it, and that's the good thing. I have a couple bits of advice to help you double your reading this year, or at least increase it, because let's be realistic. And not everything here is going to work for you. And we're all different, right? But I want to cover a range of ideas so that at least something works for you. There will be something in this video. It's not always your fault you don't have time. Life happens. I mean, you have so many responsibilities, so many people to look after, and amidst all that chaos, it's sometimes, difficult, if not impossible, to find a moment to yourself just for some reading. Meow, meow, I haven't eaten my breakfast. I'm going to starve to death in 5 minutes. Okay, fine. Excuse me, sir, your tax return is overdue. Give it a rest. All this stuff pops up and distracts you. It takes you away from the very thing you want to be doing, which is reading. So what can you do apart from faking your death and moving countries? Well, you read when the world is quiet. I like to read first thing in the morning, before I open my emails, before anyone asks me to do something, before all the jobs of the day become available. In college, I did the exact opposite. Late at night when all the work was done, we had our dinner, we chatted a bit, me and my housemates. After all that was out the way, I'd then go upstairs in the peace and quiet of the night and just spend half an hour reading. And I, end up doing that until like midnight. And yes, it was late, but that was a moment of peace where I knew I would be undisturbed. I knew there was silence and everything else was finished. There were no distractions. So whatever situation you're in, because there are many, try and find or even make a slot of time that is free from all this external noise, because only then will you have this unguarded time that gives you that peace and that tranquility to just read. What sounds easier, saving $7,300 in a year or $20 a day? Well, they're both the same amount, right? The total's the same. But chances are the smaller number seems easier. The big sum of money is intimidating. It feels unapproachable and you don't know where to start with it. But this, $20 a day, that's something manageable. You can face that every day without much of a hassle. Unless you're a baller and you can just pay it off immediately. Fair play. Telling yourself you'll read double this year can be scary. That's a big sum. That's a big goal that needs to be broken down. And I'm not into all the tech bro life planning, all the meticulous like calendar stuff, the micromanaging. It feels weird to me. It feels a bit control freak. But still, even, we do need some level of planning, some rough vision to guide us, especially with a goal as big as that. So instead of having this vague, broad goal like read more, I would take that and split it into these small daily things we can check off, like the $20 from before. For most people, this is a daily page count goal. I'll read $20, I'll read 20 pages a day, for example. But I don't really like that because it punishes you if you choose to read more difficult books, which you'll get through slower, or if you read with more care and thoughtfulness. It will make that goal harder to reach. So instead, I like to do a time goal. Just read for half an hour a day. And whether you get through 5 pages or 50, you still did half an hour of focused effort every single day. And if I did my maths right, that's 182 hours for the whole year, with just that half an hour a day. Not much effort if you think about it, but it adds up to a lot, because those 182 hours can really change your life and change how you see the world. Now, the amount you read is not actually that important. I know that sounds stupid for a video like this, but it's true. Whether you read 10 books or 100 per year, what really matters is the quality of the reading, because that's what determines what you remember, how much you remember, if you understand the ideas, if you let the stories and the author's insights really touch you and affect you as a person. That's what matters. If you read 200 books a year, but you read them badly, you can't call yourself well-read. And chances are, if I have to be honest, all the effort's wasted. Because of that, I'm always trying to improve how I approach and understand books. And Skillshare, the sponsor of this video, has given me a structured way to do that. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with thousands of classes across almost any creative area you can imagine, from filmmaking to design to even productivity in business. So if you need an extra boost in your hobbies, your business, or even your career, then Skillshare is the place to do it. Most of my job involves writing, so I kind of have to be good at it or I starve. And in the past, I've used Skillshare to take some classes on the subject and really hone my skills. Classes on video editing and filmmaking were also priceless to me when I first started the channel and I didn't really know what I was doing. Those classes walked me through the whole process from start to finish as an absolute beginner. And if you know me, then you know I love to have structure in my learning, a clear A to B path that I can follow. Right now, I'm working through this class on reading critically because it's one of my weaker sides, and to be honest, you don't see many people talking about it as a skill. The short, manageable lessons mean that you can make learning a habit in 2025 with just a tiny bit of effort every single day. So if you want to nourish your own interest in Skillshare, then do click the link in the description. The first 500 people to do so will get a 1 month free trial, and I'm certain you'll enjoy it just as much as I did, so do have a look. In the past, I thought that The Hobbit, the book, was boring. I had to force myself to read it every time because, I know it's bad, but I hated giving up on books halfway. It had to be really terrible for me to do that. And I kept thinking, how is this a classic? Like Tolkien, what are you doing, man? You're supposed to be engaging me. And it just wasn't happening. Now that went on for many days, but there was one reading session that stood out. And suddenly, I don't know why, I found myself in a flow. I was actually engaged for once. I was invested in Bilbo's journey and how he would, sneak past Smaug in his lair. It was interesting to me, finally. But that never happened before, so why now? Well, I don't know, to this day. There's no magic pill. Maybe my mind was just a bit less brain rotted that day. Who knows? But if I had to guess, I would say it's because I kept on reading despite being bored. Instead of quitting early and saying, oh, I'll read tomorrow, whatever, I just kept going. Beforehand, with my short, spaced out reading sessions, I suspect that I was cutting up the narrative, and that was preventing me from getting immersed and really becoming engaged in the world of fiction. When I decided to push on that one time, I gave myself the rare chance to actually feel a connection, to feel eager for more and to be invested into the world. It wasn't that The Hobbit was boring, I just didn't give it time to speak to me. So if that sounds like you, and I know there is a good chance that that's happened to you, maybe when you're reading fiction, instead of cutting up the sessions, try to only read it when you have a long time ahead of you. So you have time to really get immersed into the story. And preferably you read it in as few sittings as possible so that you can build that momentum and just snowball through it. And once again, feel immersed like you're watching a film, for example. Because you won't put on a 3-hour film and watch it across a month. It just doesn't give you the time to care. If you read in long sittings, it should go like a breeze and you'll end up reading way more inevitably. Now that idea is very similar to this next one, which is called the last stretch method, and it's from the mind of Cal Newport. When you run a 5K or any distance, it's not equally difficult from start to finish. As soon as you get out the door, you feel fresh, you feel energized, you feel good, and you feel like you could run for 100 miles. Very quickly afterwards, you start to feel this sensation of dread replace your optimism, your joy. And you think, oh man, how am I gonna finish this if I'm feeling so terrible now? I mean, surely that's not just me, right? It gets harder very quickly. You suffer through the run and maybe it's most difficult like 90% of the way through. But then you turn the corner and you see your house at the end of the road. That's your finishing point. You've done the loop and you are seconds away from being able to just pass out on the floor, take your breath, and let all those endorphins rush in. You're so close to the finish. And because you see the finish line, that gives you a burst of motivation. Despite your fatigue, it's the easiest stretch of the run because, again, you're motivated and you know that you're about to be finished. The same sort of concept is true when it comes to books. And if you use it properly, it can let you finish a book maybe 1 or 2 days earlier than before. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's significant and it does add up in the long run. The idea is that when you are close to the end of the book, maybe 50 pages away roughly, 1 or 2 reading sessions away, instead of just dropping the book and waiting until tomorrow, you finish it then and there. You say, okay, well, I've got this momentum. Why not just go to the end? I'm almost there. I may as well. And I can feel the rage from here. I can feel it already. This is not an excuse to compromise the quality. I'm not asking you here to rush, to skim over the stuff until you get all the words, until you get to the end. That's bad. Of course it's bad. And if you are prone to that rushing, and I am too, maybe avoid this technique. Maybe just take your time and be patient with it and read until the end normally. It's not the end of the world. But if you can keep up that quality and that care to the book, but then you also have that momentum, you may as well go to the end. Why not? And those were the 4 techniques I used last year to not double my reading, maybe not fair enough, but to increase it. And originally this list had, I think 12 or 13 points, but I thought that's way too long. I'll save them for another video. I don't want to waffle too much. I want these to be quick and to the point, to respect your time. I also have a newsletter, which has had a bit of a dry spell recently, I admit. It's been bad. I've been focusing more on the videos and the newsletter has been neglected. But that is going to change this year. I'm writing more. I'm going to really nurture it and make it something more worth subscribing to. It is free, so please check the link in the description, subscribe to that. There's going to be similar topics to what you see on the channel, but also some different ones, some more fun, exciting new things maybe. And, while I will write more, hopefully, it's not going to be spammy. I don't want to cause all this fucking mess in your inbox. That's annoying, but I will see you there. And I do my best to respond to everything. It may take days, months, weeks, whatever, but I will respond to you, almost guaranteed. And of course, I'd love to hear your own techniques, anything you use to increase your reading without hurting the quality, because we find that important here. It's always useful to share what you know in the comments. Other people find that really valuable. I find it really valuable. And actually, I do learn a lot from you. So always feel free to share what you know. And of course, thank you very much for watching.